Alright, this is going to be an uncontrollable yapathon. Actually, it is a bit controlled because there are some things I straight up just cannot talk about. But I know what I can talk about, and it's just my own personal experience in Vancouver. So, while I have this little conversation with you, I'm going to have rank 2 Gwenpool gameplay in the background. And fun fact about Gwenpool, I did get her while I was in Vancouver, so I was just excited to come home and try her out. And yeah, she's a very fun champion. She's a very, old character, but she still has some pretty neat tricks up her sleeve, even unawakened. But the point of this video is to just talk about my time abroad and how I honestly had the time of my life. And that was for multiple reasons. First things first though, I originally planned to try to make an excuse to not even go because I was too scared, because if I accepted this trip, it would be my first time ever traveling by myself. And that means no practice reps inside the country that I live in. Just straight up my first time traveling by myself would be to a whole different country. So of course I was scared, but I told myself if I decline this, then if it ever happens again, I know exactly who's not getting invited to it. So I told myself I should and I have to do this, and I did do it. And looking back at it, if I didn't do it, it'd probably be the thing that I regret most in life, declining to go on this trip, because it was genuinely something that is a bit life-changing, and it was just such a fun experience that I am very happy that I went to it. Now, here's another thing about this trip. So, it was, quote-unquote a business trip, right? But there was one thing that I really, really enjoyed about this trip, and it was meeting my friends, but also meeting my idols, right? I think everyone on this planet has an idol, as in someone they just look up to. And yeah, the people that I look up to are in the Mcoc creator space. So you can imagine how I felt when I was in the same room as Legacy, Brian Grant, and Seaton. I literally was just like starstruck, right? And I thought to myself, what am I doing here, man? Like, literally, what am I doing here? I don't deserve to be here. I feel like a fan that snuck into an event, right? Because those are guys I look up to, right? Apparently, on this trip, we're all creators, so like we're all equals. Absolutely not. Like, I did not feel like an equal to them in the slightest. I was like, oh my gosh, I am just a fan meeting my idols, right? So that part was insane to me. Still, like, to this day, I cannot believe I actually met those guys and even took pictures with like Brian Grant. Still unreal to me, and that's what made it honestly like such a good experience, right? Because I've been watching them since I was like 13 years old, so like pretty much a third of my life I've been watching these guys. And yeah, I just like thinking about how young me would feel, it's just still crazy to me how I even got invited to this thing. But, that aside, just like meeting my friends too, it was so nice to see them, because, we're usually just talking through a phone screen, but there they are in real life. And I promised myself that I try to be a bit more social, and I went with them everywhere. Even though I was uncomfortable going places, I still went. I went to bars, which I can't do in America because, it's 21 here, but in Canada it's 19. I am 19, so I could actually go to them. And yeah, watching like Andrew the Rough get absolutely wasted, watching Legacy stare into space because he's like 6 shots deep, I was like, wow, this is it, man. Like, this is the experience that people crave, and it was a fun time. I would do it again. I would meet my friends again. Like, shout out to MSD, B McG, Simula, Cat Murdoch, Brian Grant, Seaton, of course, like Legacy. Was such a fun time there, man. Same thing with Andrew the Rough. My gosh, he's a freak, man. He's so freaky. Another thing to mention is, yeah, like all the Kabam employees that I got to meet. I can't probably I probably can't talk about like what I talked about with them, but like meeting my favorite game designer was honestly such a nice moment and such a highlight of the trip, because I was just like fangirling or fanboying. And yeah, like I play his characters religiously, and like meeting him face to face, I was just of course starstruck, right? And like that's another experience I will just like keep in the memory box forever. So yeah, like it was just such a great time. Vancouver, great place. The weather not so great, but that's okay. I survived that somehow. But yeah, like I was gonna say something and I forgot about it, but yeah, I learned a lot about people, a lot about the creators in MCOC, and I learned that they are all super nice and just like genuinely great people that are so funny. Yeah, there's a lot of goofballs in the community for sure, and it just made the experience even better. So I would absolutely do this again, 10 out of 10. And this was just the social aspect, right? This isn't even like the actual reason for the trip. The main reason was much more like business focused, and even like that experience was honestly life-changing and honestly like something that I will cherish forever. And I am like super thankful that I got invited to this, because I don't think I deserve it still, but apparently they did. So yeah, I wish I could talk about that part of the trip. I really do, but I cannot. And if I could, it'd be a 2-hour video straight up, because a lot happened and a lot of stuff that I was just like, wow. And yeah, I am so happy this event happened, both like social and like for business reasons. I would absolutely do it again. I hope I can do it again, and I hope that I'm invited again, because yeah, it was just the time of my life. And yeah, I wish I could talk about it more, but I think the more I get into it, the more I will just start saying things I shouldn't. So I'm just gonna protect myself right now. And perfect timing, because Gwenpool just finished this fight, and now we move on to the next fight in this video. That's right, I'm transitioning from yapping to commentating about Gwenpool really fast. I hope I can maintain, you know, this energy. But yeah, now we got this Gwenpool fight versus Titania. And Gwenpool is such an awesome character, man. She is such a fun champion. And, you know, she's from 2017. She's a bit old, but that doesn't mean she is bad per se. I think she has a lot of good use in questing. And while questing is something that some players aren't really into, I know there's a certain, you know, number of players out there that do love questing and only prefer questing. So yeah, if you have a Gwenpool, which you should, you get her for free, you will realize that, hey, Gwenpool's honestly pretty awesome for these fights that I usually do anyway. So yeah, she's just a ton of fun. Once she gets that SP3 armor break, the damage output is very, very strong. And when she's awakened, like when we can awaken this champion, oh, she's going to be such a good character when it comes to reducing defensive ability accuracy. So yeah, this is just like the tip of the iceberg for this champion, and it's still pretty incredible stuff. Like her damage output right now is phenomenal. Those crits are critting for sure. And this matchup is just about over now after I dropped that 20,000 relic crit. There you go, man. That's Gwenpool for you. And before this, I was just like, yeah, man, she's really fun. She has uses in questing and like Crucible, for example. But then I saw this fight and I was like, maybe she's not just a fun old gem. Maybe she actually is pretty freaking solid. Because look at this fight. This is just like a pure control fest. And here I dropped the SP2. And Jessica Jones is pretty annoying, because once she drops her special attacks, she just goes unstoppable. And you just do not want to deal with that, right? But with Gwenpool here, she just completely locks down the fight. And so now Jessica Jones is just never going to drop another special attack, so her whole kit pretty much is just neutralized completely, since she can't activate specials, so she can't go unstoppable, she can't go unblockable. This is it, the fight is just over, and now we just do some pretty gnarly bleed damage and just keep the fight under control. And there you go. Like, this Jessica Jones boss was just made an absolute joke. And this is when I realized that, hey, yo, her control is incredible. plus you pair it with her already pretty solid damage output, and you have a good champion on your hands, man. Like, is she this meta champion that you will always use for like every battleground season? Absolutely not. She is way too old for that, and just a bit outdated, but she still is a very fun old gem to revisit, and she can pull off some pretty awesome fights like this. So for a free character, man, I'll take it. Like, I do not regret the rank 2 in the slightest, and hey, if I get a skill gem from my challenges, she might go to rank 3. But yeah, that'll do it for this video. Gwenpool, awesome champion, really fun to play. My trip to Vancouver, very fun. I wish I could talk about it a little bit more, but I don't want to risk anything, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on Gwenpool, and let me know your thoughts on my trip to Vancouver, and yeah, that's about it for me.